The Colts have fired Frank Reich. Jef Saturday named the interim. I have a Steelers-related question to this, but I heard you were on the -3 show live when this happened. But now that you've had 24 hours or so to think about this, just wanted to get your reaction to Saturday getting named the interim. I know he was a team consultant. I know he's a great offensive mind, playing with Peyton Manning for a decade. I know at the end of his career played with Aaron Rodgers as well. But the lack of coaching experience is what a lot of people are discussing. But what'd you make of this news? And I'll go from there based on what you say.
I mean, it's the Billionaires Boys Club. I'm going to bring in who I want to bring in, regardless of whether y'all like it or not, because I didn't brought in so-called certified coaches, and I don't like the way this organization is going. So I'm just going to go a whole nother route, and that's bringing in a guy I like, and that's Jef Saturday. He just went to unorthodox. He has in Israel, the owner for the Colts, just went, unorthodox and was like, you know what? I've been looking at all these resumes. I've been seeing all these coaches. Everybody been telling me what could and should be a good hire. I'm about to go all the way left because this is going to be an interim, head coach for the time being. Anyway, I'm going to go with a guy I like, a guy I'm comfortable with. And that's, one of his own in a ring of honor in Jef Saturday. Now, what I was saying on the Sheck Show, Mark, was what I do know about offense and defensive linemen. They know everything about an offense or a defense, how to attack, because that's where everything starts at. If you just look at a lot of assistant coaches on NFL teams or college teams, they're usually the offensive line or defensive line coach, because everything starts in the front with front stunts, who's weak, who's not weak, and so forth. So with Jef Saturday, I know a lot of people upset, they mad. It's a lot of, especially with the Rooney Rule being in place, a lot of people saying just throw the Rooney Rule out the book because nobody in the NFL ain't using the Rooney Rule in general. But at the same time, when it's a Billionaires Boys Club, man, they're going to hire whoever they want to hire, regardless on what the color is. Now, did you have guys in place? I do know my dog from New Orleans, Reggie Wayne, he's the wide receiver coach. He was sitting over there. But for Israel, man, you just got to understand, like, he's going to hire at this particular time an interim coach that he wants to. And who is he familiar with? He's familiar with a Jef Saturday. Like I said earlier, when you talk about a coach who understands fronts, there's no better coach in my mind than having offensive line coaches. They just don't get the exposure. It's not a so-called sexy pick as a head coach when you want to get somebody to be the face of your franchise when you want to talk about head coaching. But man, these offensive defensive line coach, believe me, every head coach leans on them.
Yeah, I've been pretty consistent when we've talked about the Rooney Rule in the past. Mm-hmm. And what I always try to focus on is the equality of opportunity does not always equal the equality of outcome. And I've been pretty consistent about that. You said something, though, too, that I think is very important. Jef Saturday is going to be the interim coach, meaning unless he runs the table and the Colts just flip the switch, which isn't going to happen with Sam Ehlinger as your quarterback.
Right.
I don't expect him to be the coach beyond this season. So, I hate when it's just I get that he doesn't have coaching experience. I understand that. Right. But then Jef Saturday has to be the face of, here's why there's all these problems. Let's see what happens with the Colts in the offseason, or whether it's the Panthers in the offseason, or one of these other franchises that will end up firing their coach, and see how all this shakes out. This is one team. Mike. So that's just I see all this, and I get he doesn't have head coaching experience. But when you learn from Peyton Manning for a decade, am I the only one who's missing something here, Ike? And I know that playing and coaching, two different things.
So Mark,
but you're learning from one of the best offensive minds that the sport's ever seen.
Mark, Peyton learned from Jef. Jef had to make them calls. Now Peyton is sitting back. He's seeing the scheme of things. But if Jef is not making them front calls, Peyton ain't getting that ball off. So for Peyton had to rely on Jef to make the mic calls. You know what I'm saying? So it's opposite now what Peyton did when the ball was snapped. and him making the right decisions, all that is on Peyton Manning, Hall of Famer. But yeah, before, and you looking at that pre-snap, that's got to come from the center. And for Jef Saturday to be able to make them calls for Peyton Manning, it made his job a whole lot easier.
Yeah, and I have a bone to pick as well. And this is more so like why I need to get off social media sometimes and just go and walk around. But when I see yesterday, then Brian Flores' name starts trending with all of this. And I'm on record. I think he should be a head coach among one of the 32 teams in the league. I'm on record saying that. But they're saying, oh, well, couldn't the Colts have considered Brian Flores? Or it's really someone who is a minority coach. But it's like, well, Brian Flores is now under contract with the Steelers. So depending on what a candidate's contract stipulates, they might not be able to interview for that position mid-season when they're employed by another franchise. So I'll stop, Ike, because it's just like I'm feeding into social media nonsense is what I'm doing. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You got to understand, you're smarter than that. You got it's doing the season. So you and it's interim head coach. So I'm not about to put my resume. I'm not even about to put myself in that position to leave a organization and go to another organization. We're talking about interim. I need to sit down with this owner during the off season and give him my game plan and give him my coaches who I want, and where we can have a clean slate, a clean start during the season. Man, have at it. And people can get mad all they want to, but right now for this interim head coaching job, the owner wanted to do it his way, and you can't be mad. I mean, you can be mad at him, but I understand exactly why. Like, if people actually sit and think about it, this was actually a smart move. So why put another head coach in a bad position? Why put a coach on staff in a bad position? I'm going to go ahead and give everybody a clean start. And then the offseason, we're going to do all this evaluating. I'm going to get the coach I think who is needed for the Colts. But right now, man, for 9 games left in the season, there's no way if I was in a coaching position, I would want to become an interim head coach throughout the season.
And it goes back to that opportunity that we're talking about, Ike, to circle back to that. One thing I think the Colts will do with Jef Saturday, Ike, run the ball, and let's establish Quentin Nelson and Jonathan Taylor, 2 of the best to do it in the league at least a year ago. Jonathan Taylor was it. Go ahead, Ike.
No, that's exactly what they're going to do. That's exactly to protect a young quarterback, to protect the okay offensive line because they're injured. And they're not bad on defense at all. The defense just, stay on the field too long in my mind. But when I'm telling you, they're going to run the ball. They're going to slow the game down. They're going to win. They're going to win. They're going to beat the Raiders. I'm telling you. Jef Saturday doesn't need head coaching experience, man, not to know football, Mark. And this is exactly what's going to happen. He's going to surprise a lot of people. I'm telling you.
All right, Ike, really quickly before we go to the Week 10 picks, which retired Steelers player who's not currently in the NFL would be best equipped to pull a Jef Saturday?
I really couldn't say that. I would have to go one with Byron Leftwich as a head coach OC. After Byron Leftwich, I would have to look at Deshea Townsend, who I played with, and Larry Foote as a defensive coordinator, and I would take it from there. I will hire again a Joy Porter and a Will Gay to help Deshea Townsend in that secondary. Then after that, I would get a James Ferrier. And on the wide receiver side, I would have Randall Ells, my wide receiver coach, as an offensive line coach. I would put one of the Pouncey boys or bring both of them as an offensive line coach, as a tight end coach. I would have Heath Miller. And just as a consultant, I will put Troy Polamalu over as a consultant, I myself as an assistant or running for a GM. And that's exactly what I'm doing with this football team. I'm telling you, I got this stuff right in my head. And I would have Deuce Staley as a head coach or assistant head coach, and I would bring Willie Parker back to help in that department, and we're going to win some Super Bowls, Mark. I'm telling you, if they gave me my opportunity as a GM, this is exactly what I'm doing.
All right, let's just get the band back together now.
Yes, sir.
And you want to know what, too? The players aren't up to snuff on the field. Get the helmets and the shoulder pads. You just named the whole like Pro Bowl squad from back in the day, Ike. I had 3 names that I thought of. Hines Ward, I think, would be one. I think Jerome Bettis would have a good temperament to be an interim head coach. And then 2 players, too, that will go on to be in the Hall of Fame. One already is. Alan Faneca, Ben Roethlisberger. Those were names that I thought that would be of the right football mind, players that don't – a lot of those players you named, Ike, have gone on and had coaching experience in the league that you named. But when I thought about all this yesterday, I was putting together this segment. It's like, man, we're going to have a lot to talk about. Ike, go ahead.
Mark, you hit spot on. Bussy, Red, which is Alan Faneca, Hines, which he's coaching this new league in San Antonio right now. He's the head coach as well with the Rock and company. So everybody you just named, spot on. I think Joey Porter's with Hines too as well. I think Bussy would be a great marketed guy. Bussy would fit well with just teaching young guys how to be a professional, how to market themselves, staying out of trouble, how to get as much money off the field as possible, because that's just what he do. I think Bussy would be grandpa. Grandpa meaning any kind of question, anything you need, any kind of connection, you go to Bussy. So if I was to build a squad or organization, I'm hitting everybody you just named plus more, and we're going to win a lot of Super Bowls because they know exactly what it is to be a Steeler.
Like Super Bowls. I like the plural, the S on the end. I like that.
100%.